Monday, February 9th, 9:24 a.m. Checking in for our little trading video vlog. It is now Monday pre-market. The market is about to open up. I just left the screen once again, but no real moves, nothing. Pretty much just flat. Some the futures and the pre-market showing a little red. Again, anytime there's a big moment like the Dow hits 50,000, I just expect some sort of, again, relief from that news, any sort of excitement, sentiment. So no real move over here. This is SanDisk. Again, we're sitting down a little bit. This is not anything I consider a move whatsoever. So I have a hard stop loss for one share. We are exposed 2 shares short. Just heavy volume. Most likely we'll get a spike regardless if we go up or down today. So try to get a little bit of entry. We'll keep 1 share for exposure pretty much for here on out. Again, trying to trade down through in here. Could it go up to $2,000 a share? Sure. Do I expect it to? No. Would I hold through it? Yes. Would I hopefully have a stop loss if I thought the trading action would get to that momentum? If there's an extreme spike, you might miss it. But like if it was trading up towards 700 and consolidating around there, or a big move then consolidation, I would probably close there. But for now, that's what we're doing here. 1 hard stop loss right at our average price at 606.93. So a hard stop right at 605. Trivial amount of profit, but we stay in the profit with that 1 exposure. Because with these opens, right, it can spike up really hard and then come back down, and it just, 1 wick of a candle stops you out, and then you're sitting there like, why did I do that? That's just something you kind of get used to in terms of how you play that, how tight you want your stop losses, so on and so forth. Personally, I'm always in a position, and I think anyone would agree, if you're preserving profit, you can always re-enter, and there's enough liquidity, there's enough opportunity to go trade something else or just to re-enter the trade you just had. And so no real thoughts over here. That's what I'm doing over here. American Eagle typically doesn't trade pre-market. These little flitters don't really mean anything to me. Again, this is a good kind of example of, we see the spread, and this is typically how American Eagle's been trading. Again, company that trades heavily in terms of like well-known consumer presence. But the spread typically in the morning for American Eagle, at least in the past, that we've been following it, the spread's typically this 20 to 30 cents. And so on low volume days, to me, if you want to enter here, like today, specifically on today, this would be, I think, a good entry, where you're just selling the ask. And I expect to get what I call like a smackdown open. It's just where you have this spread disparity, 23.75 to 23.50. And it's not really trading right now, but it'll still open up pretty close to that. And then the spread will tighten. And so I expected this to go down. We covered this last week, where it's like this I just see is bolstered by the overall market sentiment, the Dow hitting 50,000, yay, yay, yay. But nothing really going on in terms of momentum for this past 3-4 months in September. And technically this looks good for more movement to the downside. And additionally, we have this little bonus of this little gap here, trying to look to fill that technically. Besides that, not a bunch of movement. I don't know if I'll stay on until the open. We got about 2 minutes. But I'll probably cut it here and then just actively be trading the open. Not too much. I also put a stop loss, a hard stop on Joby. Again, just anytime I enter, with these morning sessions from the 9:30 to 10:15, you get the most volume, you get the most fluctuation. And so, right, if it stops me out again, I always put my stop loss just above, right? Entry price 1038 and change, stop loss for the whole lot right around 1042. And we get this morning session, volume comes in. If it goes up, great. If it goes down, it stops me out, a couple bucks profit. With the direct intention to re-enter, just get a better entry price. So it always makes sense to me. Again, you do get dinged out a lot when you have tight stop losses, but you're preserving profit, and that always makes sense. The higher conviction you are of the move, the less tightness I would have on the stop loss. But for me, there's no real hard rules on any of the, not on any, but on the stop losses of the stuff we're talking about right now. There's no like hard rules for me. It's just you do it enough. And your risk is always really what's driving your decisions. Because if you don't care about $100, $1,000, 100,000, whatever the dollar figure is, right? There's no really reason for, and if you don't have extreme margin, you're not going to get liquidated, right? There's no really need to have a stop loss. It's just the psychology. You get into a trade, you get into the money real quick, you get knocked out, you're not going to be that bummed. You get into a trade, you get out of the money, you're in depreciation, you're losing on the wrong side of the trade, you're going to kind of feel like invested, you're going to want it to get back to your starting point. So to me, it's just the best. Tight stop losses is kind of the best calibration for that. But with that being said, the market is about to open, and so I want to be kind of active and not sitting here with a microphone. So we'll check back in after the open session. See you then. February 9th, 9:52 a.m. So just quick little update. The open is still going. Like I said, up until about 10:15, I see the dynamic as that's like the changing of the volume and direction. We did get stopped out of one. Might look like it'd be pretty much at 6:01. So that looks like, this is what I was saying earlier, you might get stopped out. But when I do get stopped out, like I said, certainly not within the same morning session. Right, we still have one share exposed short here. The other share got closed at a profit of a trivial couple dollars. So we're working back towards profitability. that one was up to about plus $80 throughout the morning session. We did have that strong move down. Once it retook this volume weighted average price, even I would say again within the morning hour, I think it's 9:53 right now. That discrepancy, I only really play technicals like that after the morning open. I mean, I don't think the stock is traded enough to form any sort of intraday disparity. And so stopped out one share there. I never rushed to re-enter. Still have exposure short, but this would not, again, technically there's no real levels for me on SanDisk or these memory things with extreme momentum. But 540, so we had this big kind of rejected this 550-ish. Kind of trending back down a little bit now, but pretty much to me this is just sideways. So not much going on there. We'll enter another share short if it goes above my entry price, into that 650, 700 range. If it just kind of trades sideways or down without breaking this 544, I'll pretty much just be holding the position that I do have, no stop loss. Pop on over here to American Eagle. See this, it did pretty much what I said. Again, this opening up with this kind of disparity in this spread from about 30 cents. This is why I did not have a stop loss on this one because my entry price is that 86. I probably would have put it right around 85, 84. You have this candle and immediately to the actual execution. If you have any shares get traded on your brokerage where your stop loss is at, it will trigger your stop loss will go into a market order. And so even if you have a stop loss at 23.85 and one share gets exchanged at 23.86, and then the next share, which closes your position, gets traded at 23.77, just kind of out of luck. And so the spread tightened up here, continuing on to the downside. Nice little profit here. But this is towards, again, we're getting toward between it's 9:55 right now and 10:17. There's a lot of movement can occur. But I probably, again, no stop loss here. This is again anything plus $100 outside of normal wiggle room. Like again, this volume weighted average price is kind of developing. But point being is it's still a little too tight for me to want to have a stop loss to preserve profit on this one with less volatility. A good move, technically looking strong to the downside. I'm just kind of chilling, not doing anything here. We got stopped out of Joby. Pretty much, again, trivial profit. Let's see what the actual Joby sold at 1041. So any price below that would be, improvement of our average price. But I don't re-enter right away. And so I'll wait for this morning to die out. It can be the same day. Just, again, always watching and seeing the price action myself. I've watched this for a while in terms of when something's going to change direction. A lot of times you don't know which direction it's going to go. You place your bets, but you can kind of tell when the consolidation's kind of drying up. So regardless, that's what we have, kind of sideways on SanDisk. Stopped out of Joby looking to re-enter, and American Eagle looking pretty strong to the downside. That is what I have for you, 9:56 a.m., and we'll check in later. February 9th, Monday, 10:49 a.m. So morning move has kind of died down, at least the most intense of the volume. Not that anything particularly special is going on today. The S&P is at the SPY 69.3 or 693. So no real comment. Kind of slightly going up, jumping up a little bit, but on our trades again, we got stopped out on the SanDisk at the pretty much as always. We like to hit the top. We still have our short exposure open right now after the morning has died down. Because you're trying to put your stop losses in a place where like you're trading the move, not a certain amount of dollars. And so the opening the 9:30 to 10:15, or really like 10:17 is what I see it as. It's kind of like the biggest move where you get the most volatility. So we had a good strong move to the downside here, and right around $100 where it's like it's in. Certainly I'd want to secure that profit, but since we're trading the move, it's like if you close it out there, it could easily go down, substantially more on this one, or it could go back up. It's just in this like churning big momentum move. No real technical guidelines here, in my opinion. You can have some levels if you want to try, but point being is it's just like, is momentum going to continue, or when you go to 1,200 a share, or is it going to retrace to 300? Really, at this point, I have no real opinions. So we have that just one share short exposed after the morning move. If it were to continue up, I'm more confident now having that hard stop on there, meaning that if it hits that, it's going to be more because of a move upwards as opposed to just the fluctuation of the open. It could hit it, go right back down. It could not hit it, go down. It could go up and continue to go up, none of which would surprise me. Overall, short, want to be short exposed, but not high enough conviction where it's like, again, literally one share, but no real opinion on the outlook for the rest of the day. And so this could be a hammer bottom. It could be, and the technical terms, you'll hear a bunch of different stuff. It doesn't really mean anything to me, especially when you're watching and feeling the sentiment progression throughout the day. And so, again, no real technical basis on this one. We'll keep that hard stop there. If we get stopped out, we'll look to re-enter one share pretty quickly, just depending on how where it goes if it does stop out. If it doesn't stop out, it would have to break below this 544 for me to, want to add more shares for the continuation to try to make money on the downward movement. So pretty sideways on that. American Eagle. Let's see what we're doing over here. Again, another move down, not super strong. Right in this region. We're up $100 over here. But the overall move, like, do I think it's prudent to put a stop loss to secure the profit? Still on this one, no. This one just seems a lot more solid for me from a technical level, cyclical. We've been through that, nothing new. After the morning trade, I'll probably just have no stop loss on this one as well. And so, excuse me. This would only, again, from a technical perspective, from a financial perspective, again, you always want to make money, but that's what you're really calibrating, right? It always makes sense to buy or sell if it's going to go up or down, but you're trading an overall move, and within that move, your sentiment's going to be paired to each little jiggle of the price action. And so, just from experience, from looking at other people, what makes sense to me is, again, trade the overall move of the day in a given trend that's going on for 3 months to 3 years. And so you're kind of finding that disparity within those time frames. And then on the given day, 9:30 to 10:17 is your heaviest volatility. Moves typically change, if they're going to change, right around noontime with the lunch hour, 1:15-ish, and then 3 to 4 p.m. I don't really typically trade then. I will close stuff there, maybe rearrange, but I don't typically take new positions in the afternoon or in the 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. time frame. So here again, just kind of chilling. Probably won't have a stop loss, but super just how the price action feels for the overall move. If it does, again, were to go above 23, because right here would be where I'd be debating, do I put the psychological thing of the 2350, but I'm not going to. I might do it later, but technically this looks good for the downside. So not much more to say. Check back in later. February 9th, 1:44 p.m. Hello everybody, checking back in after the lunch hour. It's a good example of trading dum-dums, but again, just
an example of stuff not going in your favor. And so back on SanDisk, again, there's no real technicals to me on a momentum trade like this. But intraday, we have some sort of, looks like consolidation, just kind of sideways. Certainly between 580 and 600 is not a move. After on the daily chart, we're looking at something like this. And so sentiment momentum-wise, and as each day goes by without another move, it just tends to fade the momentum. But regardless, we had the one share short with an average of 603, I believe, after, again, we put the tight stop loss with that at the beginning or at the morning, which that made sense. I don't think that's the trading dum-dum. But point being, as we get through the morning volatility, the morning rush, but again, I do want to say that's going to die down. I do think, right, to me, what I see is inevitable 24-hour trading for everybody, right? So why you have the morning trade is because you have the most volume, and it also pairs with people waking up, right? You get up in the morning, you have your breakfast, you get in the office, you're ready to go. The stock market's open, you want to get in the game, right? Lunchtime, it comes around, you're still kind of feeling it, you're doing your thing. 3 o'clock, maybe the day's winding down. And so again, the natural cycling of just on a person, right? Each of your personal cycles are reflected in, again, the sentiment progression we see in the stock market. So as we go to more open trading hours, this spike from 9:30 in the morning till 10:15, 10:17, I do think will die out. But it does currently pair with waking up in the morning. And so you get the most volume and you get the most volatility. And so after it carves off, again, we don't close again down into this 550. Again, if we were quick on the trigger, definitely would have been in a range where it's like dollar figure wise, it would have been, make $100 in 5 minutes. Sounds pretty good to me. But again, overall, we're trading this move, some sort of retracement back into these 4 to 500. I see imminently is kind of what I see again if this momentum kind of fades out. But we're documenting again, managing things. Or you make a decision, you're into a trade, what do you do? And so getting stopped out up here, again, in retrospect, kind of sucks. But again, after the morning, again, this is at 9:45. And so this is an after the morning move. For this to bounce up or go up to 650 would not have surprised me zero. So we can look back at that and say, we pretty much stopped ourselves out. Still in profit. Again, it was in the profit trivially, but it would have been nicer to obviously capture this $40 in here, but we didn't. And so it's like then from there we just we hedged ourselves against a big up movement up here, but then we just kind of consolidate again after a huge momentum move where this is not technically really indicating of anything, and overall the technicals don't matter. I don't say they don't matter, but what you see is the human sentiment, the people clicking the stocks changing, and then those patterns reflected, but it's all trailing. Right, because like right now, again, it's 1:48 p.m. Right, if this closes down below this 580, which we kind of bounce around closer to this 550, this chart is going to look extremely bearish. It's going to look like it's breaking down. It already kind of is. But then if it closes up, anything above 600 really, it's going to look pretty bullish. But you can just see again these charts forming in real time. The biggest thing, the driver, is the sentiment. That sentiment is segmented into days and then into 3-day chunks and then into kind of 3 weeks into 3 months. All super loose, but those are kind of the segmentations of sentiment you get. And so regardless, we stop out of there. We have a 1 share on this. The day progresses. Again, less volatility, kind of ping pong balls down. And then, so I added 1 share right here into this candle. It closed below the volume weighted average price. And so to me, again, I'm not going off any technicals, but just feeling the price action throughout the day. I'm feeling like this is a ping pong ball. I'm getting ready to sell off. And so short overall, but we technically, I guess that's as good as it could have looked. And then immediately it bounces back up. And so what do? I do nothing, right? Because I scaled into a proportionate size, and that size being literally 1 more share. And so again, not a high conviction stock in the immediate short term, meaning the next day, 2 days, 3 days, the next month, I would expect, next 2 months, next 3 months. This is definitely, again, I see that with the big retracement, the momentum dying out. What dollar figure that lines up at? Again, this to go to $1,000, $1,200 wouldn't surprise me. But I definitely like to play the. Everyone's saying this is going to go $12,000 or $1,200 a share, $2,000 a share, and it's just like, again, when you follow a security, when you follow the markets overall, you will see periods of time when the excitement is definitely way more, and so you're really just kind of playing the fading of that excitement, and so no real, I guess, anything else to say here besides, again, we added in. Again, I'm dealing with dollar figures that doesn't matter. I mean, this is $7 in the profit, $2 down. We had a big, this was not a big move in relation to this security in the morning, but you still feel it. Again, it's like when we're playing poker for $1. Like, you still feel real money because it's real money, but it's not consequential. And so whether you're trading big money or small money, it doesn't affect the actual personal sentiment you will feel. If you're trading like to make money, meaning you could just take $10 million if you have it to blow, pick some random thing and not care. That certainly can, and will happen. But if you're sitting there trading, trying to make money, you will feel the sentiment, push and pull momentum with any dollar bills. So way back when I say never trade with paper money, just trade at a position size, because that's all you're doing, right? There's enough liquidity where, right, if we had 10 million shares, granted I don't know if that's reasonable, what the market cap is. The point being is, the move is the move in your share size. There's enough liquidity where, unless you're buying the whole company or half the company or something, your share size isn't going to affect the overall available liquidity. And so we're still kind of trading sideways again, popping in after the lunch hour. Not really much going on. I'm not seeing any excitement. Kelly Evans once again, or Edwards, or whatever. There's two. Whenever you have two first names, I always forget them. I don't know why. But she said she's never day traded and aspires to be. Again, directly something she just said. And so just amazing. Again, people that have jobs in finance, sitting there and talk stocks every day. And this is truly like the biggest discrepancy in price action is the morning trade, the afternoon trade, in relation to the given 3-week sentiment and momentum of a given security. Because like I said throughout all of these videos, is we kind of like wait for this move to happen. We wait for something that you can go find a stock where it's just kind of channel trading for 3 years, and it's like you can just avoid that by just trading whatever is moving. And you can say, I really like Caterpillar, or I really like Facebook, or I really like whatever. And that just doesn't matter based on market dynamics. When you have so much liquidity, meaning I can just go from owning a share of SanDisk, or I can short a share of SanDisk, and I can go right back to cash effectively, like super quickly. So a super liquid thing. It doesn't matter what you're trading. And there's no sense to me to be like, I really like this company or that company. It's like, this thing's moving. And you need that volatility to have profit potential. And if you're trading or investing, obviously every decision you're making is to make money, not to be like, oh yeah, I think Caterpillar is a great company and they're really moral, and shut the fuck up. Right? And so I wanted to document personally, again, a truly kind of like, I'm going to say an irrelevant. I mean, if this were to go up, $100 a share, I don't want to lose $200. I wouldn't close the position at that. But an ad where I'm not excited about, right? It looks technically good. I mean, I am already aware that these charts reflect the momentum movements and the sentiment movements, and it's all trailing. But you still feel like, wow, I could have, waited 2 seconds and, shorted it here. But when it's, hindsight is 20/20. What you're responding to, and I think, again, I don't think it's super unique to me, but you'll be trading something, and then you'll put a stop loss and it'll hit exactly at your stop loss. Or you'll, buy something, or in this case, short something, right here, it looks great, and then bam, it doesn't. And so you will synchronize to the momentum of whatever you're watching, again, assuming you're engaged watching the price action pretty much throughout the day and over 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, some amount of time. And so you'll pretty intuitively react to the momentum changes. It'll feel like it's overextended. It'll feel like it's oversold. But a lot of, in my experience, what that is you're just sensing the imminent movement. And so you still have to stick with again, there's no hard rules for me in trading. But again, after watching enough trades, you'll sit here and bounce, your personal momentum and sentiment will bounce with the price action. but the day trends, like if it goes up or down on a day, is typically what you just want to play is one movement. And then after identifying an overall, a 3-month trend. This one, SanDisk, extreme appreciation playing the downfall. American Eagle, extended appreciation, cyclical stock, see limited innovation, momentum upswing, little bigger position, trying to make some money there. Let's see what's over there. How we doing over here? So again, just another one of these days, pretty much just straight sideways over here. I don't want to get cute over here because I do think this is a higher conviction trade for me than SanDisk. SanDisk still having that momentum. If it were to appreciate another couple $100, hit the $1,000, it wouldn't surprise me. And so this one I'm still feeling pretty good on. Again, another, like we said in the morning, you could say, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it's just the spread dynamic, the dollar figures. Again, we're trading a move. We're not trading a dollar figures. Always would want to preserve a dollar. Again, $100 is $100, but to try to get in and out of this trade, for it to slap down again, to close closer, sub 23 would not surprise me. And it's just this consolidation. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, we almost have 2 weeks of just kind of like definitely trading throughout here and then rejecting any sort of upward movement. So this looks a lot better for me. And technically, again, I don't even like saying technically, just like sitting here and watching the price action over time, this feels like it's ready to go down. And certainly if I'm wrong, again, all of this stuff is said with, you can just straight up be wrong. But that's where the management comes in, the stop losses, the position sizing of not being something egregious, right? If this were to go up, again, barring just some absolute carnival shit, which is possible, right? What's it go up to? 26. And so it's like all of that comes, your risk tolerance and risk management comes from position sizing and stop losses. And so I've always had personally a pretty good grasp on that because, again, I don't have constitutional rights, man. Like, I just don't, people don't get how, like, you can't do anything. Like, there's nothing you can do. And so, meaning, if I had cash flow, the way I would be managing the trades would be different. But I'm like, if you're as protective of principle as you can be, that is the position I'm coming from, right? I get $1,700 a month on my whopping treasury bonds, and I'm like kind of okay to risk maybe like $200, but I really don't want to risk anything, and so I can err on being too tight on stop losses to preserve capital, as opposed to I need to make this trade or something, because I am the victim of crime in levels that no one cares or understands or wants to care or open their eyes to. But so we're still just kind of sitting sideways. There's not really much really going on, not much movement. And you have a lot of days like this. This is, like I said, this is overall, like you start trading the securities that are moving. Because you can have 3-year periods where you just kind of channel trade and do nothing. And so no real insight past that. That's what I got for you in the post-lunch hour, and we'll check in later. Monday, February 9th, 2:04 p.m. So right back on here, big strong move up on SanDisk, at least again momentum-wise, feeling this bar right here. So I went and instinctually closed my position, and so overall, again, I don't know what that ended up for on the day. But remember, we're tracking the trade, and so looking for re-entry, but it was a strong movement. Hoping to get back in over 600. Again, if it snaps back down, we'll just be on the sidelines, but. So it looks like so far, again, this little cutesy, when we try to jump around from 693 to 700, literally, that's what this little 30, besides that, we are pretty much flat on the trade. But just wanted to document that because I just finished the last segment, but we have this strong upward candle here. And overall, again, kind of trading sideways, entered that shorted one other share at the 584-ish, right below this view at, and then a strong move away from that. That it snapped, closed my position. So a lot of the decisions is like that. It do be like that. But regardless, again, all of the decision is pretty much snapping. But this to me looks like a continuation upward. We're getting some. You can see the level 2 getting a little feisty right now. But regardless, we'll probably let this move. The intensity of the move was such that I closed the whole thing, which again, 2 shares, but I literally was just on here telling you I was going to keep 1 share open, but this snap was a pretty strong movement upwards to me. And so again, checking back in on the daily, again, if it closes up, again, anywhere above 600 will look bullish. And so we'll be following it close. Just wanted to pop back in quickly with that movement. February 9th, Monday, 4:18 p.m. Hello, everybody. As you can see, the market finished up today. Once again, jump off the screen. I keep forgetting to do this. But as you can see, pretty much just sideways on SanDisk. No real movement there. We traded this as bad as possible. Again, we're within this, not really a channel, but as close as a channel as you can have on this upward momentum, kind of just churning. No high conviction. Want to play it to the downside. When is that going to happen? Don't really know. Is it going to happen? Don't really know. So on and so forth. But regardless, we covered the ads and closes today. Like I said, the last update, I snapped close is what I call it, just when it's just like I immediately see a shift and I just execute the order immediately. So market order closed. I don't know where into this candle, but we can look at our trade history. And so to close, that was at 6:03. No, that was before that one. So this one was the snap close. So it was at 596. And then I reshorted another one at 6:01, and then snap closed that at like 6:03. After seeing again this movement, reopened the one share after 596 close, and then reopened one at 6:01 after kind of bounces around, and you're trying to get like that. I see that immediate momentum move, and I'm kind of like trying to figure out how strong of a move this is going to be. And so it kind of dies off pretty quickly. So I short another share into here again at 6:01. But then it continues to bounce around a little more, and it doesn't fall back down. So again, all of this is playing out in minutes. This move specifically probably like 5-ish. But point being is, unless I'm live trading every single move, this was kind of a big jump, or in terms of like decision making, not big in terms of like share size or dollars at risk, but just moving things around quickly. And so luckily for me, after here, we pretty much then dumped down where, all right, we started the day with 2 shares short at 6:09, I think, or 6:07, 6:09. We close one out after this big dump down. We don't catch any of that profit in there. We secure some profit up here, literally at 6:01. That was a decent, and to me, again, trading the open, I wasn't upset with that. Not upset with any of these things, but just it's one of those things where it's like you effectively do the wrong move every single time. And so on the day, again, I think I finished maybe minus, I don't know, a couple bucks. Yeah, I think it was at minus 39 yesterday, so minus $3. That was a dollar figure. But in terms of execution, reacting to the sentiment, reacting to the momentum in real time, and just being effectively wrong on each thing, which does happen. Again, like even on your winning trades, you're still going to have these where it's like, frankly, I'm trying to trade this momentum, which isn't something that I have a ton of experience doing, I guess. I'm just trying to time the movements that are more of like, extreme appreciation of 3 months after, or 6 months after extended appreciation for like 3 years. It's like, when really are these breaking points? And so that's what we're reacting to. That's what we're documenting. That's what we're trying to gauge. And I'm just walking you through my mindset, my headspace, anytime I make a decision. And so with that being said, again, this tentative range of 550 to 600 is really where I'm kind of like waiting for some sort of, I keep putting my foot in short, and if it doesn't immediately kind of go in my direction, I kind of get out of the water. Because technically, again, I've said it like a ton of times now, but this doesn't really mean anything to me. This could be consolidation, right? We can have this, we went from $50 up to $300, and then we, kind of bounced around, ping-ponged around in here from 200 to 300, and then made another very strong move up. And so you can still see these periods where, right, there's no real indication to me in terms of PE conversation. This could go to 1,200, 2,000 share. I tend to think that's like, again, watching the sentiment development, it just feels like you're getting into that hope and euphoria part of the cycle, and you keep forever raising your price targets. And the whole PE conversation to me in general, as we've said a bunch, is just like I don't know what to make of it. Certainly not an operative thing. Point being is I'm reacting to the momentum, the sentiment in real time. For SanDisk, again, it's just right in the middle. This could go up to 800 without me blinking an eye. It could go down to 400 without me blinking an eye. These closer you are to the momentum move, the closer you are to having retracement, to having the momentum, the intensity of the momentum there, but in the opposite direction. Meaning, if we look at this earnings beat, this is straight up gap, like it gaps up and then fills trades throughout the whole volume or the whole pricing structure that it gapped up from. And so it's right back up there, and then it's but now we're kind of like, again, we're getting to be 1, 2, 3, 4 trading sessions where 1, 2, 3, 4, these are 4-hour candles. And each of these, again, gray things is a after hours. But point being is, we've had several days where we're just trying to trading, consolidating on like a peak, on a pinnacle after a big appreciative move. And so pretty tentative. Again, that's why we're just playing with 1, 2 shares, tight stop losses. This was just wrong. Again, this was just this section of the trade. Again, I wouldn't even say like mad. I mean, this is just part of trading. And is this a reasonable fluctuation within this price range? Extremely, right? We've appreciated 1,400%, and it's jiggling. $50 a share is like nothing. And so that's just the nature of trying to be cutesy, trying to play all of these little movements. But in reality, I'm just trying to play the downward depreciation from whenever this momentum fades, and just managing my money once I enter and have exposure. So that's what's going on there. Again, I continue to not have constitutional rights. Nobody understands that. I don't get how people don't understand it. I mean, it's just my entire life is destroyed. And this is what I've been doing for 10 years is you can't trade meaningfully without a risk tolerance, because that's where all of your stop losses comes and goes, is based on the move, right? You're trading the move. The move sets your pivot points, your technical analysis thing. But if you don't have risk tolerance, you always have to have these extremely tight stop losses, which you end up shooting yourself in the foot. But you can't not do it, because if you have that position that goes against you, then you're just fucked. And so you can't do that. But again, I don't have constitutional rights. I can't get cash flow. The fact that my parents don't understand that I don't have constitutional rights, and they're still to this day like, why don't you get a job? As if I'm not, again, demonstrating all of my skills publicly in real time. But it's just this abuse that I've been exposed to my whole life, and I can't get it to stop, and it's not going to, and it's all illegal. And I just don't know how people continue to treat me so profoundly terribly. It is all illegal. Why can't somebody just give me some money? I have been abused to the point of prolific torture since I had been an infant forming memories. Nobody that can do that to another person can accept they do that. When you have more maturity than the people that have control of you, it creates hell. That's where I've lived in every day of my life, and that's where I continue to live in. All over these little things called fucking dollars. Money, 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 money. Well, let me make some money. Here is my property. Here is my hard work. For real, yesterday, my mom is just like, well, would you be opposed to, doing something for money? Again, I'm just like, where is this coming from? All I do every day is try to make money. I've been abused my whole life. It's not stopping. It can't stop. It affects my ability to think. That is what you've watched. To me, to sit down and do all of this science just required me to get away from abuse, which still hasn't happened. And it's not going to happen. It can't. Please allow me to leave this country. I am seeking asylum. I say it in every video. It is not a joke. My rights are violated. My property is destroyed. And I am in an environment where the maturity is 14-year-old children that do not have the capacity to care. It's not that they don't want to. They can't. I continue to beg to have some ability to maybe eat properly, sleep properly, and work. None of which I can do, none of which I have ever been able to do. Another day of my life gone, another anything. That's all I got for you today. See you on the next one.